Good morning on this Monday, April 7th. This is the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. It's a pleasure to join you. We do this each and every weekday morning at 9 o'clock. We tackle today's top weather headlines, and we've got some more stuff to talk about today. Some big storms once again impacting the central and southern United States. We'll have a storm recap, what has happened and what changes are coming on the heels of this massive storm. It has been a deadly storm, and we're going to talk some more about that and just the tremendous impacts this thing has had. We're also going to take a look at how the rain is now spreading east, and it will be overtaking much of the East Coast. So while this massive system has done a lot of damage in the central and southern U.S., it's going to bring heavy rain, some potential for some flooding as we head over the next 24 hours here along the East Coast. Also, we could see a few stronger storms here as well. So I'll talk about that, and then behind it, it is much, much cooler. So yesterday, we had almost record heat in Norfolk. Then it got a lot cooler behind a frontal boundary that kind of sagged into the area, brought about a wind shift. Now we're still a little bit warm, above average today, but we are getting ready for dramatically colder weather coming in over the next couple of days. And we'll talk about what's going to go on beyond that. So plenty to break down. We're also going to talk some more about some blooms and take you overseas to some tulips, some video that's going to be pretty cool to check out later in this edition of the Weather Desk. But let's get to the first topic and the storms that have been impacting the southern and central U.S. You can see we've been seeing some showers across Hampton Roads this morning, and we actually need the rain. I'll show you the drought monitor a little bit later on. It's been moderate drought, though, down to the south. So the rain that's coming in today, actually a blessing for Hampton Roads. It is really, though, been a different story for some other parts of the country. You can see heavy rain working across western North Carolina, back into western South Carolina, and down through Georgia. Some very powerful storms. There have been some warnings, some severe weather warnings issued for that part of the country a little earlier. We'll expand and take you even farther west where things are quiet now. But this was not the case earlier as we went over the weekend. And as we take you back just 48 hours, we'll take you back to early Saturday. You could see snow flying back across parts of New Mexico and Texas on the backside of this system. So while this system's lumbering along, producing the rough weather and, yes, some severe weather down across parts of Georgia, some flooding down around the panhandle of Florida, earlier, as we got into the weekend, it was making snow back across New Mexico and parts of Texas. Here's where we are right now, the rain pushing towards the coast. But when you go back in time and you think about just how massive the system was, very cold on the backside, flooding rain across Missouri actually impacted my weekend back in St. Louis. I had to attend a memorial service, and the location of that service had to change because the roads that access the church where we were going to have it were flooded out. So we had to move it to a different venue for that service. So a lot of impacts back across the central U.S. Now, some have referred to this as a once-in-a-generation, unrelenting storm. It's been plaguing the central and southern part of the country, and it is now blamed for at least 20 deaths, including a 16-year-old volunteer firefighter in Missouri killed in a vehicle crash as he responded to a reported water rescue. This system is toppling trees in Georgia, flooding the Ohio River, and washing out neighborhoods in Tennessee. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood with a recap of this weekend's devastating stretch of weather.
Water is just rushing so fast.
Several states seeing dangerous and deadly flooding as this multi-day stretch of destructive weather continues into the weekend. More than 90 tornadoes reported in 10 states, from Kansas to Ohio since Tuesday. In Mississippi, residents say emergency text warnings gave them just seconds to escape with their lives.
Without it, my daughter and my grandson would have been in that room right there where there's no wall anymore.
Parts of Arkansas hit with more than a foot of rain. First responders wading through floodwaters, pulling people from cars in Texarkana. This family farm flooded, these cows now trying to find higher ground. In Grand Saline, Texas, this man sheltering in his bathroom while the wall of his bedroom was ripped off.
I just imagine the pressure that it took to rip that whole wall off the side of the house.
In Kentucky, the town of Hopkinsville underwater. Officials say at least a dozen people were rescued from their homes. Business owners using sandbags and pumps to try to stay ahead of the rising water.
We definitely are very concerned that it could get a lot higher, and if that's the case, I could have a greater loss than I have right now.
In Louisville, officials with the Kentucky Derby Festival announcing the city's Thunder Over Louisville celebration has been canceled due to dangerous flooding along the Ohio River. The first time in nearly 40 decades it's been canceled due to weather. Residents of Dyersburg, Tennessee, getting to safety at this shelter after the town received a third tornado warning Saturday afternoon.
We decided to come here just to make sure we were safe from the tornado.
And the Mississippi River overflowing its banks near Memphis' iconic Beale Street. The city hit with more than a foot of rain since Wednesday. Those heavy rains now traveling east, the highest threat for flash flooding now in Alabama and Georgia. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Memphis.
It is really something to see that. I've pulled up this map with storm reports, and these are the most recent reports, still kind of, within the last 12 hours or so. But I'm going to put this into motion and show you the storm reports that came in over the weekend. Look at all the snow across parts of Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, hail across Texas, flooding reports, all those green symbols there showing the flooding that was so widespread across the South. Lots of wind damage reported, several tornadoes, and a few lightning strikes. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But you see this progression. This was through Sunday evening, and now that rain is pushing towards the East Coast. I do want to show you behind this storm system, there's been this dramatic drop in temperatures. And you take a look at some of the record-breaking cold that's been happening, or I should say record-breaking snowfall back across parts of Texas for this date. April 5th, the National Weather Service in the city reported 1.8 inches of snow. Now, I get it. That's not going to seem like much snow to a lot of you, but that's 130 years after the previous record was set back in 1895. They just don't get that much there, and you can see it did have an impact. Travel warnings were put into effect as winter weather caused multiple crashes along Interstate 40. But this isn't the latest it snowed in the Texas Panhandle. On May 5th and 6th, back in 1917, a whopping 9.1 inches of snow fell. So they have certainly had, that major snowstorm to deal with way back when. But you see what just a little bit of snow did there in Texas, and it's no good. So that's what they've been dealing with. Now, we are going to turn our attention and come back to the rain, but I wanted to point out one other thing. Whether you have severe weather or not, if you have a thunderstorm, by just the definition of what it is, a thunderstorm, that means there's been some lightning somewhere in that storm producing the thunder. And lightning is dangerous. Remember, we issue warnings on winds, on large hail, tornadoes, obviously. You get flood warnings as well. But even if it's not a severe storm, lightning can create trouble. And this storm report came in for Brownsville in Georgia. Right here, this lightning strike. And there was actually a home that caught fire after being struck by lightning. So anytime there are thunderstorms, folks always want to be extra cautious and stay weather aware. I just wanted to point that out in the midst of all of this. I thought that was kind of an interesting storm report that came in. So what about today? Well, I mentioned this whole line is working to the east. Here we are in Hampton Roads around Norfolk and Virginia Beach. We're on the edge. Down to the south, there is this level 2 threat. This has updated here, so we're going to take a closer look at our area here. But the level 2 threat was earlier this morning really setting up for South Carolina into Georgia. It's extended all the way up through North Carolina now. So that is a slight risk. We have 5 different levels that we kind of classify the severe storm threat. And we are now up to a level 2 across parts of North Carolina. And that runs all the way down through coastal sections of Georgia and North Florida. Let's take a little closer look again in the tornadic outlook. And before we jump into this, let's take this full for a second. I want to go back to that other graphic just for a second, just to take a little closer look at where exactly, how close that comes to Hampton Roads with this new kind of elevated map. This just updated, and I love this with the weather desk that we're able to do this on the fly. So I'll step into the map again and just show you. This previously just had this level 1 threat for our entire viewing area. And we do have a lot of folks that are watching this. I know you can watch it from anywhere across the country and really across the world. But a lot of our viewership comes from this part of the country. And I just want to mention, Early this morning on 13 News Now Daybreak, we were just under a level 1 threat. We are now under a level 2 threat, and that includes parts of our viewing area. You can see Northampton County, Hertford, Gates County, down through Bertie, Chowan, Perquimans County, these areas, Pasquotank, and parts of Camden County as well. So down around the Albemarle Sound, level 2 threat for severe storms. Now I want to take you back to that other graphic. This is the tornado outlook. And again, while it's minimal, it's just a 2% chance. You have roughly double the chances of seeing a tornado than on a normal day when you go to that 2% chance. It goes greater than that, gets up to 5% down across South Carolina, Georgia, and north central Florida. So we do, while it's not a great chance for a tornado in our immediate area, it isn't non-existent. Okay, what I mean is there is a chance some of these storms that develop late afternoon or evening could have a little bit of rotation. Even though it's just 2%, it is something that our team here at 13 News Now will be watching, and we'll let you know later today on 13 News Now and all of our digital platforms, streaming and otherwise, what is going on if we do get severe storms. Again, across our area, it's a 2% chance, and you see that is really from the south side Hampton Roads through eastern North Carolina. As you go farther north, the eastern shore, northern neck, middle peninsula, and peninsula, not included in that 2% chance. We will continue to watch. And that's 2% chance of a tornado happening within 25 miles of any given point shaded in the green. All right, that's the way we look at the tornado outlook. All right, let's come back to the drought situation. We mentioned that heavy rain is going to come in. We'll talk rainfall amounts. I'll show you our Futurecast in a moment. Still very dry across the Southwest, and we've got the extreme drought back up across parts of Nebraska, Wyoming, and South Dakota. That exceptional drought, South Texas and West Texas, a little bit back across Arizona as well. Here on the East Coast, I want to focus again on our area, and you can see while it's dry in the Midwest, there are some areas that have had ample moisture. Here across Hampton Roads, we're in moderate drought across parts of Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, and into Suffolk, down around the Albemarle Sound as well. Northern parts of the area, we're fine on moisture. It is abnormally dry across the metro area south side. So the rain we get, that's not a bad thing. We could actually use it. Our chances for rain will be very, very high for the next 24 hours or so. We'll see some scattered showers this morning. We've already seen a little bit of that, and it hasn't been too much, but we've seen a little bit of rain across the area. Off to the north, though, it's been raining this morning. Those rains will continue to move to the east-northeast. Eventually, the stuff off to our southwest is going to fill in for Hampton Roads. So as we get into the afternoon, it becomes likely that we are going to deal with the rain. It will be steadier and heavier at times through the evening. We're also going to be watching for potential isolated storms. And then by tomorrow morning, it all moves out before sunrise, and we will see big improvements. Now, the flood outlook for today, it's again just level 1. It's marginal. It does go to level 2 once you get down around Mobile, Alabama, and back over towards Pensacola. You know, little bit elevated flood risk there. It's a level 2 or slight risk there. For our area, again, it's level 1, but this does include Hampton Roads all the way up through the peninsula, middle peninsula, and just about up to the northern neck. Not quite there, but getting close. And then on the eastern shore, we also have that, again, level 1 or marginal threat. So we are talking about some significant rain. Now, how much rain? Let's take a look at a couple of the models. And this is the graph model, and it's projecting 2 or more inches of rain from Melfa to West Point, Newport News, Wakefield. You see this 2 to 4. That's just a general range. It's going to be on the lower end of that. The models are all suggesting it would be closer to 2 inches, not up to 4. But there are going to be some locally heavy downpours, and that potential is still there for some issues. So that's that kind of range, 2 or more inches there. For Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake out through Franklin, areas down to the south, it's more like 1 to 2 inches. And we'll get into a little bit more detail on that in just a moment here. Also north Tappahannock over to Chincoteague, 1 to 2 inches as well. That's the graph model. I'm going to show you another model. This is the RPM. And this model actually assigns some numbers. I don't want you to get too hung up on it. But again, you see that same general thinking, Richmond to West Point over to Melfa. There's that area where you could see 2 or more inches, close to 2 up around Chincoteague. Actually pretty close to 2 here in Norfolk with the RPM as well. Some of the other models were calling for 2 to 2¼ inches or so around Norfolk. Virginia Beach, maybe 1.6, a little bit less, 1¼ inch. Elizabeth City and Edenton, anywhere from 1½ inch to 2 inches, Husky, Franklin, and Chesapeake. And again, these are just model outputs, but everything is pointing to the potential for significant rain. And you can see why. While it is dry right now across eastern North Carolina and the extreme south side Hampton Roads, there is more rain that extends out in western parts of North Carolina into South Carolina. We're seeing some heavier pockets of rain, maybe some thunderstorms out that way. Now, early on today, we'll see some showers kind of hit and miss. The rain is more widespread to the north, and it's still a little breezy out there. Southwest winds have been gusting up around 25 miles per hour. As we continue through the afternoon, showers start to really fill in, and we get some heavier downpours, maybe some thunderstorms out to the west, pushing through the metro as we go through the evening commuting time, 4:35. By 5:30 or so, some of that heavier rain's off to the northwest, but more rain is going to fill in, and here we go as we get into the evening, that rain coming through, moderate to heavy rain, and this is where it really starts to add up. We get over 1 inch or so, maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches or higher of rain, even across the south side and into North Carolina. So that's what we're looking at through 11 o'clock. Again, Tim Pandages will be with you this evening at 13 News Now, watching for any potential signs of organization strengthening or any rotation. He'd certainly let you know about that. As we go through the overnight, by 2, 3 o'clock or so, most of this will be out. A few lingering showers may last a little bit longer, but by sunrise on Tuesday, skies are going to be mostly cloudy. And then we're going to see decreasing clouds. Note the winds shifting around. This sets up a big change from what we experienced over the weekend. It was a hot weekend. I'll show you that. We'll come back to that in just a second. But here's what I want you to see. Look at these temperatures here Tuesday, only in the mid-50s for highs. What a difference with that north and northwest wind. It will be much cooler. That's through Tuesday, becoming mostly sunny after some morning clouds. And then on Wednesday morning, we're talking lows down around freezing. Wakefield, Emporia, Richmond, West Point, low 30s, mid-30s in Chesapeake, low 40s Norfolk and Virginia Beach. Bottom line, really cold weather setting up for early Wednesday morning for this time of year. That is below average. And the afternoon highs on Wednesday only in the low to mid-50s. So we get a couple of cool days before winds start to shift around. You see high pressure offshore here starting to come around with that clockwise flow. Eventually, we'll warm it up again as we get into Thursday and Friday. Now, we'll talk rain chances on the horizon. This is looking at the European model. You see the heavy rain impacting the East Coast and the Southeast. That pulls away early tomorrow morning, and then we enjoy more sunshine coming up later Tuesday. Tuesday night, skies are going to be mainly clear. It's going to be cold into Wednesday morning. Wednesday looks mostly sunny. By late Thursday, some more showers and potential storms out to the west. We'll see our chances for wet weather here again on Friday. Into Saturday, things are looking a little bit better. There's a chance for a few showers. I think the bulk of the moisture will be offshore, but a few stray showers may develop a little bit later Saturday as well. Sunday looks really good for us. And then we warm it up. You see how dry it is across the central part of the country as we get into the early part of next week. So we do have that to look forward to. All right, I told you we would come back to the weekend and how warm it was. Look at our high yesterday in Norfolk, 91, just a degree off the record, which was set back in 1929. So 91. Now you think about that. Normally we're at 67 for a high and 48 for a low. Extremely hot, and we wanted to take a look at how that compares to early times in the year where you get above 90 degrees. So the earliest 90 or warmer days that we've had on record since 1946, when we started keeping records at Norfolk International, well, there was yesterday, April 6th. Then April 6th of 2010, we got there. The earliest that we've ever seen 90 degrees or warmer at Norfolk International, April 3rd, back in 1963. That's since we've been keeping records at the airport. So yesterday was extremely warm. Now, I will tell you, a cold front came through around 5:30. And I say this because I mentioned I was back in the Midwest for a memorial service. That was on Saturday. Well, Sunday we flew back. When we came into Norfolk International, there was that frontal boundary was pushing back through. Looked fine when you looked out the window. We saw a mix of clouds and sunshine. It was a little breezy. We were certainly feeling some bumps coming in a little bit. But as we were starting to make the approach, we were coming in from the north. We knew we had a south wind with the warm weather yesterday. But because that front had pushed through, it shifted the winds around. So the plane had to divert, take a loop around, and we made a run towards the airport from the south, heading into this new wind direction. Winds coming in from the north. So we're set, planes coming down lower and lower, getting ready to land, and all of a sudden, the plane started to encounter another wind shift right before landing. Pilot gunned the engines, we pulled up, and we looked like we were maybe within 40, 50 feet of the ground. I don't know. We were down low. We were seeing the airport little buildings right next to us, and then we pulled up and took off again. We didn't touch down and go, but we got down low and then accelerated, took up, came around. Third time we put it down, it was safe. Everybody was fine. There was no big crisis, but they said the winds were getting so variable with that frontal boundary, and that front dropped temperatures from 91 degrees down into the upper 50s in a very short amount of time. Then it kind of warmed back up and went back and forth. Bottom line is, you get that marine layer coming in and the cool waters there of the ocean and the bay impacting, and you get a boundary like that, a frontal boundary, it really makes for some interesting air travel and some challenges. Again, our pilots were excellent, but it was a little exciting, I will say that. All right, temperatures today near 72 with the wind shift, much cooler coming up Tuesday and Wednesday, highs only in the mid-50s. As we look ahead to Thursday and Friday, we're going to jump back up into the upper 60s, low to mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, low 70s, and then we warm it up again through the middle of next week. So there is that warmer weather to look forward to. Beyond that, looking out 8 to 14 days, I just really wanted to focus on the temperatures here above normal for much of the country, from the East Coast, certainly through the Southwest and all the way to the West Coast. In fact, the only areas close to or a little below average as we look out 8 to 14 days. This is the 15th of April through the 21st. The Northwest and maybe the Northeast, slightly below average. Most of the country will be warming up in a big way through that time period, the 15th to the 21st. So that's a look ahead. All right, we'll take a look at Norfolk right now using our Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. And again, it is cloudy. At times we've seen rain. We've seen rain on the camera housing here, and it has been wet. Right now, we are looking at a pretty good day. We are going to talk about blossoms here. And, you know, again, with all of this potential, again, we've had the rain knocking down the pollen levels a little bit. So we take a look here. Tree pollen is going to be moderate. Maple, juniper, birch, that tree pollen moderate. You take a look, grass, weeds, and mold. Don't have to worry about that right now. The tree pollen has been so high. But again, the rain that we've already had and the rain that's coming will knock it down. So we get a little bit of relief right there. As we take a look at the beach forecast, the boating forecast, I should say, we're going to have small craft advisories up for the Atlantic Ocean. The wind southwest shifting to the northwest, 10 to 15 knots. So the sea's running 3 to 5 feet. Now, as we take a look at the forecast, we do have, again, the potential for rain. And I do want to talk to you a little bit about that. I mentioned we have a level 1 threat for excessive rain, and there is that potential maybe for some flooding issues. With us expecting this widespread rain after drought conditions, we may have to deal with some flooding in some areas. Meteorologist Hunter Forst explains the difference in categories when it comes to excessive rain.
The Weather Prediction Center issues an excessive rainfall outlook that is used to inform the public whenever there is a risk of flash flooding. This can help show how likely you are to encounter flash flooding if you were to drive within 25 miles of your home. Level 1 here in this green color is considered a marginal risk and is issued when isolated floods are possible. Any floods that develop are expected to be localized and primarily affect places that can experience rapid runoff and poor drainage and heavy rainfall. Level 2 is considered a slight risk and is issued when scattered flash floods are possible, but any flooding that occurs is expected to be mainly localized. Those who are most vulnerable are urban areas, roads, and small streams, but isolated significant flash floods are also still possible under this Level 2 risk. Level 3 is a moderate risk and is issued when heavy rain will likely lead to numerous flash flooding events, with some potentially being significant. Many streams may flood and large rivers could be impacted as well. Level 4 is the highest risk you can get on the excessive rainfall outlook and is only used in extremely rare circumstances. This is issued when widespread flash flooding is expected, and heavy rain will likely cause severe and widespread flash flooding even in areas that don't normally experience it. As always, it's important to remember that water can be extremely powerful, so whenever there's a risk of flash flooding for your area, make sure to stay tuned to the forecast. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, some really good information there, Hunter. And I'll remind you again, today we are under a level 1 threat for some excessive rainfall or potential flash flooding. So we'll watch for that. Again, that's the lowest of those levels Hunter was talking about. We will see the chances for rain, though. Plan on that, and possibly a few stronger storms, as I've mentioned. Off to the north, rain again. You see the temperatures here ranging 60s, maybe even stuck in the upper 50s up around Urbana and Sunnybank. Also cooler northern parts of the eastern shore. 62 around Cape Charles, 70 at Hampton. Down south, this is where it's warmer. North Carolina, Edenton, Elizabeth City into the 80s again, with 70s at the Outer Banks. We'll look for showers and possibly a few storms. So that's what's happening today. Tonight, the low down around 45. Again, showers overnight, ending before sunrise for most areas. Maybe a lingering shower or two around the Outer Banks, but I think generally showers will taper off overnight. And then tomorrow, 55. It will be cooler with decreasing clouds. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. Our temperatures, as I mentioned, will be a lot cooler Tuesday and Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, 66, 69 on Friday, and then temperatures back in the low to mid 60s as we get into the weekend. That chance for showers, we'll continue to watch that and refine that forecast as we get closer to the upcoming weekend. Now, I mentioned at the start of this program we would have a look at something pretty cool across the Atlantic. Let's take you over to the world famous flower fields at Keukenhof Botanical Garden in the Netherlands. They are in full bloom, gathering thousands of tourists from around the world. Aren't those gorgeous? Visitors flock just south of Amsterdam to admire the millions of tulips, daffodils, and other flowers there on display. The park is only open for a limited period of time. It opened on March 20th this year and will close again on May 11th. Thought that was really, really cool. All right, I'll remind you can find me on social media, Facebook, Craig Moeller, Instagram, Craig Moeller TV, and on X, formerly Twitter, at 13 Craig Moeller. The best thing you can do to stay weather aware is download our mobile app. It's the 13 News Now mobile app. All kinds of great information for you, always at your fingertips, including access to our radars. Take a moment, scan that QR code, and you will have the mobile app downloaded on your phone or tablet, and you'll be good to go. It's a great resource. All right. Hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. Again, I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. I'll be doing this every day this week, right around 9 o'clock. So be sure and come back. Let your friends know about this, too. This is something we've been doing for a while. Our audience, it's incredible. We take a look at all of the growth, all the people that are coming to find us here. And the more folks talk about it and tell their friends, hey, if you're interested in weather, check out 13 News Now and the Weather Desk. We're here every weekday at 9 a.m. Have a great day.